Always lovely to catch up with Scott Fisher. I think we have a quota of once a year, and I guess I'm meeting the quota today. Northside heading into the playoffs. Talk to me about how you feel like the season has gone up to this point.
We've had a really good turnout this year. Kids have played well, and no major injuries to speak about. We did lose one of our key linebacker running backs earlier in the year, really before the season started off. But other than that, we're pretty healthy and probably exceeded expectations from outside people. But we figured that we'd be a 7-3, 6-4 team in early camp, and that's about where we ended up at. So pretty well pleased with where we're at.
Dumb question. When you exceed expectations, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. We're still relatively a young football team. We graduated, the most kids in our program last year. We graduated our whole offensive line. Michael Harvey, went to North Carolina A&T, and he attributed for about 80% of our total offense. So we had to rebuild a lot, and we didn't have but one player on the offensive line that had meaningful snaps this year. So exceeding expectations this year for us was a good thing with our young guys.
And I guess the reason why I ask is because I think sometimes when you maybe can get ahead of schedule, people expect the ahead of schedule to be the schedule. And that's not necessarily the schedule, if that makes sense. Because, you like you mentioned, you're a young team. There's no guarantee the success continues because guess what? You're still young. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We fight that every year. I'd say most people probably fight the same thing. We really fought that earlier in the years when I became the new head coach because we had so much, success prior to me coming, and our teams were young, and we had to, you know, people had to realize that we weren't as good as those teams were in the past, and we had to rebuild, and it took a while to reset the program.
Last week, obviously, if correct me if I'm wrong. Last week, not a good week for you guys, or how would you put it?
Yeah, I would say that we played as bad as we could possibly play in the first quarter and a half against LB, and then made some adjustments, and ended up getting beat by a touchdown. And so I was happy with the way we responded. We scored 21 unanswered against them, and felt like we left one on the table. That was one we thought we were going to win.
And in your estimation, did that make the difference between a home playoff and a road playoff game?
Oh yeah, it definitely did. We would have won that game. We'd have been a 2 seed for sure.
Right.
By losing that game, we dropped down to a 5 and hop on the bus and drive down to Carroll County.
How important is it, though? I think so many people get hung up with points to where that last week, it's almost like they're scoreboard watching. But guess what? We still got a game to play. I'm not saying the coaches do that, but it feels like a lot of other people do that. Is that a beast you have to fight against?
Not too much with us. I mean, we knew going in that we were going to qualify to be in the
Mhm.
top 8. Just didn't know where we're at. We honest with the guys, win and we're playing at home, and lose we're on the road. Simple as that. So we try to do a pretty good job, managing that from a coach's standpoint and a player standpoint.
Do you ever see a benefit of going on the road?
Um, for us, it's just a matter of schedule. I don't have any problem going on the road. I
Mhm.
think it's exciting to go on the road. It's kind of a circle the wagon type mentality. I don't enjoy the hour and a half ride down to Carroll, but other than that, local games, yeah, I enjoy going on the road.
We don't talk a whole lot once a year, so I'm not going to say is that the dumbest question I've ever asked, but is being on the road one of the dumbest questions you've heard? Because a lot of people are like, why would I want to be on the road? But I would argue if you're on the road, you don't have all the same distractions you might have at home. Now, again, it's on the road, but you don't have all the same distractions. You get where I'm going?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's about structure for us, and we leave the school when we're on the road. We leave the school as soon as we can, just to get where we got to go and get acclimated to where we're at. So for me, it doesn't really matter playing on the road or at home. But if I had my druthers, of course, I'd love to play at home. However, don't mind playing on the road.
Do you think, and I promise I'll leave this question alone, but do you think it matters to kids sometimes? A certain group of kids are okay wherever we play. Some group, it's like they're comfort warriors. They've got to play at home, so on and so forth.
Absolutely, no,
Wh-
no doubt about it.
What's
I
this
think
group?
I think this group is probably split. To be honest with you, we have maybe 25% of the guys that really, really like to play at home and exceed that. And then the other 75% doesn't matter where they want to play. And again, it just comes back to a younger football team and trying to explain to them that it doesn't matter. The football field is still the same size.
How good's Carroll County?
They're pretty good. They run double tight and straight T formation under center as a quarterback. They would play a whole football game in a phone booth if they could. So we're going to have to nestle in and play some assignment football. They're very talented. They got two big tackles, and we have a work cut out for us.
How important is it that you get them outside a phone booth?
Well, we like to spread them out as much as we can. I don't think that they're going to come out of that box that they play in a whole lot. They'll play man coverage over the top. Um, so we traditionally this year have done a really good job stopping the run, and we hope to do that against them as well. We have to play assignment football. It's almost playing like a wing T type offense now. So we'll see. But important for us to spread them out when we're on offense for sure.
We've seen a lot of football. You probably know and have seen a little bit more than I have. But in that term, obviously, it's all about the team. But if things are going well, who are the people that are going to stand out for Northside?
Well, our quarterback has had a pretty good year. Casey Hall, he's a junior. He's a dual threat guy. He's a track star, really, for us. And we like to get him in open space and let him run. We're running a lot of the RPO stuff now and gives him options to throw it and run it. We have several guys. We rotate a bunch in the backfield. We get our running back this week. He didn't play last week. Isaiah Logan. Hopefully, he's all healed up and have a good game. I think he's rushed for almost 1,000 yards. And our slot guys, we rotate 5 or 6 of those guys, so they're all pretty healthy. I did dismiss 2 players from the team this week. Both of them are 2-way starters. So we have a couple guys that'll step up into those roles and hopefully fill them just fine.
How important is the O line to Casey's success?
It's pretty important. We have, I'm going to say we have played multiple players at multiple positions on the offensive line. I don't know that we've had the same guys in the same spot for back-to-back games this year. Still trying to find that right chemistry is hard. But for him, being a younger quarterback, even though he's played 10 games, it's important for him to have some protection to be able to throw his feet, throw the ball, and he runs the RPO pretty good. He throws the ball better when he's on the run.
Talking to Scott Fisher, just a few more questions. Talk a little bit about how kids have changed from then till now, in your opinion.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I get that question a lot. And, I got to be real careful when I answer it because I'm really blatantly honest. The kids are so much different now than they were even 7, 8, 9 years ago. We've got a couple of young coaches on the staff that actually played on the 2009 state championship team. And a couple of those guys teach in the school, and they're like, "Hey, coach, I don't understand why they do this." So I said, "Well, that's because they were allowed to do that." And honestly, in my opinion, I think a lot of that transitions into the home when parents and guardians and so forth are either extremely real strict or not strict, on how they raise their children. And everybody has a different opinion on that. But kids are definitely different now. It's a lot more easier for them to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore," and just walk out. So it's a lot different.
How hard is it to be in your position and be blunt?
Well, for me, it's not very hard at all because that's just how I am. I've raised my children the same way. I think administration appreciates that, although sometimes they probably think, what is he going to say now? But I think it's good to be honest with people so everybody knows where you stand, and I don't deviate from anything that I would say. But it's I think in today's society, it's good to be direct. That way, there's no interpretation that could go either way.
Yeah, I think there's a definite difference between honest and blunt with the way people are now. Not kids, but everybody.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We I'm sure all the coaches would agree with this that you talk to, and you can go out and play a great game and win and have kids in the locker room that are mad because either A, they didn't exceed the number of tackles that they wanted to get, or B, they didn't touch the ball enough, or they didn't score a touchdown or whatever have you, and you win by 21 points. So that's what we faced in today's world.
I don't mean to laugh, but it's so funny that that actually is a problem nowadays. Couple weird questions. What makes Northside a good coaching job?
It's a good school to coach at. Our administration is excellent. Jill Green has done a wonderful job at the school, stepping in as principal over there. And we just got a new AD, and Brett has done a really good job with that. But what makes Northside a special job is the community. The community's always supported us. And I've grown up in this area. My business is in this area. Raised my kids in this area. So it's important to me to do it right. It's not always about winning and losing, but it's about life skills that the kids are retained once they graduate.
When you have legendary coaches that have won at the level as Jim Hickam and Bert Torrance, does that make it more pressure packed?
Not really, not for me. When I took over, the program was not in great shape. We had a lot of things going on, 9, 10 years ago within the school itself. And all of that has changed and moved forward. So, no, not necessarily. I still talk to both those guys, not on a regular basis, but, several times throughout the year, and always like to touch base with Coach Ickham. He's a special person, and Bert's busy with his family and his career. So, no, not extra pressure. No, sir. Mm-mm.
Real quick about Hickam, does Hickam not get enough credit for being a great coach? Because the Roanoke Valley in that area had some really good ones back in the '80s, touching '90s too.
Well, yeah, you had Coach Hicks from up at Pulaski, Coach White over in Salem. There were several guys, up in Giles and those guys. But I think that those guys gain notoriety as the older they get, and the players that they coach become fathers, and then those kids come up that they have, and they instill some items that Coach Hickam instilled in players when they were playing. So I think that's where they get their notoriety from, so to speak, and respect. I think they gain that amount of respect from the players that turn into men that raise families and interject that in their families.
Yeah, it's weird because I think if you live in a certain area, you might know the coaches. Like for me, I may remember who was in Lynchburg, but they're not, known maybe across the map. But when you had Willis White, Joel Hicks, Jim Hickam, Winford Beal, Steve
Hmm.
Ragsdale, I know I'm getting a little bit farther
Yeah.
out, but I mean, Roanoke and the Southwest Virginia area, wow, you talk about some Mount Rushmores of coaches right there.
Yeah, and I don't know how those guys did it. I mean, they were lifers, 30 years, I'm sure, for each one of them. Bo Henson up in
Yep.
Glass,
Yep.
those guys. I don't know how they did it. It's a grind. Now, back in the day, it wasn't all year round for most people at that time. Now that's changed, of course, but I think the players were different back in the day too, honestly. So I don't know that those men could coach today's kids. It would be difficult at best for them, I think, personally.
Final thing, let's get back to Carroll County real quick, and we'll talk again in the offseason. Always love talking to you, Coach. Tell me one thing Northside must do against Carroll County.
We have to play assignment football. That's it. They're very talented in what they do offensively, and they carry out their fakes on every play, 10, 15 yards down the field. And we cannot look in the backfield. We have to tackle the quarterback, the dive, and both the slot backs every play, regardless on who has the football. If we do that, we'll win the game. If we don't, we'll lose.